Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us today. If you're here watching live, if you're watching on the replay, hello to you as well. I'm pleased to have with me today somebody who probably doesn't need any introduction, Alastair Barlow, bit of a celebrity in the accounting world. So thank you, Alastair, for coming on board today. And we're going to be chatting about importance of growing your personal brand and firm's profile, which Alastair has done very well over the last few years. Now, a couple of challenges that I hear many accounting firm owners face and say is that, number one, we find it very hard to find the right people. You know, we're trying to find the right talents is incredibly difficult in the market that we're in. And also, once we've found that talent, actually retaining those high performance again is another challenge. And Alastair and his partner have done very well in getting the right team on board, and hopefully he'll be sharing some of his wisdom and experience in that regard. And also the other challenge is all about winning new business. That's another thing I hear constantly, that how do we win new business? How do we get new clients on board our accounting firm? And Alastair's done an incredible job over the last few years, so we'll be learning from him on that as well. But before we delve into that, Alastair, give us a brief background introduction about you, when you started, a little bit about Flinder, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Reza. Really great to be on here. So thanks for inviting me, and hey to everybody that's watching this. So yeah, in terms of brief background, I'm Alastair. I'm one of the founders at Flinder, probably the kind of chief visionary or the chief dreamer who set up the vision of what Flinder is about 4 years ago, pretty much to the day, on a beach in the Caribbean. My journey to setting up my own business was kind of long-winded, really. You know, I spent 16 years at PwC in different parts of PwC, in different countries with PwC, living and breathing and learning another language of PwC, but also, you know, well, I say jetting around the world, but, you know, going around the world and working on different types of projects, whether that's assurance projects and working with large multinational teams, or whether it's consulting style engagements and kind of building shared service centers and optimizing what finance function processes look like. That's all actually really, really relevant to how we got to where we are today. And so probably a very convoluted way around compared to a lot of SMPs, so small, medium-sized practice owners, in that, you know, I spent 16 years at PwC, Luke was 8 years at PwC, but those experiences really laid the foundations of what Flinder is. You know, the time in consulting, well, actually, even the time in audit and running kind of large multinational audits. You know, one of my clients when I was in Amsterdam was Cisco Systems, and kind of we go back, say, 10 years or so when I was there. That was when Sarbanes-Oxley 404 came out. Everybody was focused on control environment, and that's actually a really good kind of basis for what does a well-controlled finance function look like, and a fast closing one as well. You know, so even back then we would close. So Cisco would close their books within 24 to 48 hours. This is a $20 billion business. And then as an audit team, we'd kind of sign off on a prelim audit opinion kind of, you know, 4 days after that. And I guess some SMPs are probably going, you know, we deliver management accounts to our clients within a few weeks of end of the month, that sort of thing. You know, I've seen some which are kind of, you know, beyond that. But this is a $20 billion company that's delivering results within 48 hours. It's possible. You just need to get the processes right. So that's really, really important, is the kind of the control environment, the process efficiency that we took from that. I spent about 5 years in consulting in PwC. That was very much in finance function excellence. And again, that was around shared service center concepts. It's around kind of process efficiency. It was around delivering insight to businesses to make better, or the business to make better decisions. And it was around kind of control, these competing demands of control, process efficiency, and delivering insight. And that's really kind of the crux of how we view the finance function at Flinder. And we talk very much about the finance function, not just about accounting. And the two, in my mind, are very, very different. Accounting being backward looking, finance function being much more proactive. And that's what we certainly deliver is finance function support. And then my last 3 years at PwC are probably the most relevant when it culminates it together, in that I led PwC's my finance partner in London and the Southeast. And essentially, it was PwC's way of trying to tap into this kind of market where they never really played before, certainly at the London level, maybe at some regional level in Wales and the West and Northern Ireland they did, but not nationally, and very much kind of, you know, focusing and working with fast growing or SME businesses and delivering them an accounting or finance function solution and trying to support them, trying to support businesses that way. And that was the most relevant, I think, to the jump to Flinder. And kind of, we essentially, 4 years ago, as I say, I was sat on a beach, I was thinking about what to do next. And there were a number of things which worked well in my finance partner, but actually there were a number of gaps in the service that was being delivered and what we saw being delivered in the general marketplace to what is now our target customer, target market, what they were actually after. And so we positioned ourselves in this kind of this kind of a new type of accounting firm or kind of brand or business delivering this type of service to clients. So we saw that gap, and then we jumped basically from very good salaries, very promising careers, to no clients, no staff, no revenue, no salary on day one, about 3.5 years ago.
Awesome. So we've got a similar background actually, because I came from PwC as well. Like you, I was in the Birmingham office, and I guess I was fortunate. I was dealing with owner-managed businesses and entrepreneurs at PwC. So same kind of profile of clients we have now, albeit on a slightly larger scale, but the same kind of challenges and opportunities for tax planning that were available to them, I was able to bring into a small firm. So kind of great background and experience learned with PwC. So before we get on to the couple of things I wanted to talk about, actually, let's spend a bit of time talking about the finance function, because it's something that I'm also passionate about, and something that I am constantly talking to my accountant audience about, to say that this is the area of growth. This is the area where we can really add a lot of value to our clients. It's a huge opportunity for us to kind of step in and actually make the technology work for us, not just sit back and look at the rearview mirror and do the compliance and year-end stuff. But this is the area where, through technology and collaboration, we can effectively provide this finance function service to clients much more cost effectively than them having to recruit their own finance team. And a business will get to a certain size where it kind of needs that financial director input, the finance manager, the controller, but can't afford to employ those people. And we can bridge that gap between, say, 500,000 and 10 million turnover and provide it much more cost effectively. So, Alastair, tell me in simpler words than you used a couple of minutes ago as to how actually on the ground do you deliver this service? What actually do you provide to your clients? And you're not allowed to use the H word that you always use, the heterogeneous word.
Yeah, and I do apologize.
So tell me how you deliver this and how other accountants can position themselves to deliver this service.
Yeah, actually, what's quite interesting is, Reza, is that your experiences at PwC, very much owner-man. I talk acronyms. That is my background. I'm really sorry I talk like that, right? So I'll try not to use that jargon. But you work with owner-managed businesses. You're very much tax-focused. I'm probably a pretty rubbish tax accountant, right? That's not my specialism. It's not my experience. It's not what we necessarily set up and have as a primary solution, right? We do offer it, obviously. We have a kind of hub and spoke model in our business. So we do offer strategic tax support, R&D, et cetera, et cetera. But me personally, I'm probably like one of the worst tax advisors you could get. But that's not what we do. It's not what we focus on, right? And it comes back to kind of what we're focusing on and delivering value for our clients. And so whilst we're a regulated accounting firm, we actually see ourselves as a brand first, a business second, and an accounting firm third, right? And so as a non-accounting firm, non-focused accounting firm first, we are in the business. We're not in the business, and all my team know this, we're not in the business to deliver a set of financial statements on time to Companies House. For us, that is a hygiene factor and and it's just something that falls out of the natural process. We're in the business to help our clients make better management decisions, make them faster, and meet their objectives smarter than they could do without us, right? That is what we're about. And anything that fits in that remit, if you almost have that as a nucleus at the core, helping our clients make faster decisions, meet their objectives faster, anything that supports that is our business. And so when we review and think about services, we think about client challenges they might have. We think about, we develop propositions to support or to mitigate those challenges. We are all the time thinking, how can we help our clients meet their strategy faster? That's what we're thinking about. We're not thinking about necessarily how can we save them tax, how can we deliver a set of financial statements quicker, or whatever it might be, right? Our annual financial statements or that sort of thing. Some of that is a byproduct. We're all about how can we help them make better decisions and meet the strategy faster. So we start with the concept of, actually, we're quite selective in who we take on as a client, right? So we're very focused on, if we take someone on as a client, does it fit into our mantra, and can we add value to them, right? So we're reasonably expensive, and so clients only see value from us, or only accept our price points if they see a huge amount of value from us, right?
Yeah. So give us some context, Alastair. What does reasonably expensive mean to you? Kind of.
Yes, our average fee is £1,600 a month. Yeah, sorry. Well, actually, if you backtrack to what we are, we're an accounting, consulting, and analytics business, right? So we have some one-off work where we do one-off consulting projects. We have some data analytics where we just let it run, and we've built analytics for them. That's a lower price point, so there's no human involvement. There's kind of 99% margin on it. And then we run finance functions. We have this subscription model that a lot of the accounting firms, SMPs, are moving to now. And so that side of things, we are running at an average fee per client per month of £1,600. Yeah. So that's that. And my benchmark there is Deloitte, PwC, my finance partner, KPMG, and then other firms where we've taken revenue from them. We've seen what they've been charging, right? So we're reasonably expensive. We're not the most expensive. I see some of the top 20, wholly inefficient at what they're doing, and therefore they need to charge more or try to charge more. But that puts it in context, right? So we charge on average £1,600 per client per month. And we do have some clients that are pretty low at kind of 600 quid a month, and we have some clients up at £8,500 a month, right? So but ballpark average is about 1,600 quid per month per client. And so we only work with clients where we can add something that's, well, actually one that's interesting for us to work to. So if a client comes to us and says, can you do our tax, our payroll, and our statutory accounts? We say no. We can introduce you to someone that can do that. But us as a business, that's not what we're about. We don't just do that type of work. We will only work with a business if we can have deliver some form of much richer management information. And I don't necessarily mean management accounts, I mean management information. Or we can sit down and have a conversation with them. At a very minimum, for the smallest clients, we do that quarterly, but we will be placing a bet on them as a growth business that we will ultimately sit with them monthly. So by and large, each of our clients, we sit with them on a monthly basis and have a much more strategic conversation with them. Yeah. And I guess kind of your question was actually about how do we deliver the finance function. I guess we've gone a little bit wider here and talking about, the value proposition that we have, and the fact that we are challenging them on their strategy, and we're using financial information and I'll try not to use the word, but mashing and bringing in operational information to that, and having a more informed discussion with the board or with the advisory committee or with the management team about the kind of the skill set finance has, and the kind of the interpretation, the understanding of trends, all that sort of stuff. And we'll be using that in our brains or unlocking that with data analytics and delivering it back for the business to make some actions on the back of that, right? And that's what it's all about for us. It's not about delivering financial statements and filing with Companies House or payroll. It's about delivering something where the business can make tangible corrections on their path to a quicker kind of realizing their objectives quicker. That's what we're about. That's what we're all about. And that you can trickle that down, that has a load of things in terms of how you deliver the finance function. It could be around forecasting. It could be around annual budgets. It could be around, a much richer management information, mashing different data sets together. It could be,
give us some
processes.
Sorry? Give us some examples on that, Alastair. So first of all, what kind of range of turnover of clients? And then in getting into kind of the nitty gritty, do you actually, because I know some of the stuff you do is quite specialist, so you actually create, software, you bolt onto other softwares. Do you still take kind of Xero or QuickBooks as your base, and then you have other software that links into it to get the data in and create financial and non-financial dashboards from which the information and the insights are then given to your clients? Is that kind of how it's done, and you build those bespoke dashboards? So just give us some kind of more tangible examples?
Yeah. So the first part of your question was around core applications. Yeah. So our clients are predominantly on Xero. They're predominantly Xero businesses, right? Yeah. We have clients across different applications. We will never work with a client that's an on-premise solution. Never. Yeah. That is an absolute rule, right? And if they are on an on-premise solution, we will migrate them to a cloud solution, right? And that cloud solution will depend on what their functional requirements are. So typically our go-to for a small business would be Xero, rather than QuickBooks.
Yeah, small business to you, Alastair, turnover-wise is?
It depends. It's not always turnover; it's complexity rather than turnover. No. But it could be up to £10 million that's suitable. I mean, if you work with a pharmaceutical company that's got $500,000 revenue but a stack spent on R&D versus a box shifting company that's making 20 million. And you know, there are different differences in complexity, but by and large, the majority of our clients are on Xero, right? But we have put clients on enterprise solutions. We have put them on enterprise solutions because they need greater level of analysis than, say, Xero's 2 tracking categories, or the different ways you can hack more tracking categories together. Because they've needed that segmentation. We put on another company where it's a consulting piece of work. They have an in-house CFO. They have about 15 people in the finance function. But we put them on an enterprise solution because actually the key requirement for them was around consolidation and in-application consolidation, not something like Fathom, which is out of application. And Xero doesn't have that as functionality. So that was one of the key criteria for them, was segmentation ability, but also consolidation. So we put them on an enterprise solution. But by and large, our clients are on Xero. All right. So we'll always start with what's the business care about? What does the state, who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholder groups? What do they need to make decisions on? What typical things are they always asking about? Are they asking about who's our best salesman? Are they asking which are our key customers? Are they asking about leakage? Are they asking about cash? So we'll understand what those stakeholder groups are, what the questions they're typically asking. And if they're asking a typical question, what information do they need or metrics do they need to be able to answer that, right? Every month or every quarter. And then, so from that, we'll understand, okay, where's that data? What's the calculation to get to that metric to give them that? Where's that data coming from? Your numerator, your denominator, is it coming from Xero? Is it coming from a CRM system? Is it coming from an EPOS system? And so wherever it's coming from, we'll then figure out the source application, and is the data held in the right kind of data field? So for example, if I'm looking at customer acquisition costs, am I looking at it to the right level of granularity in Xero versus the right level of granularity in Google Analytics? And am I comparing apples with apples? Yeah.
Yeah. And so where do you then take that data? Do you use a platform that you create those dashboards upon, so that the team, the board get a dashboard with all the metrics that matter on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
Is that kind of your USP?
Exactly that. And there are a number of dashboards around, right? So there's Power BI that I was having a conversation with someone earlier today on. We use one called ClickFolio just because it fits our functional requirements better than any other at the time when we did that. It's white labeled, but we're essentially bringing those data sets into either our own environment first, our own database that sits in AWS, cleaning that data, maybe mashing it together, firing it from our own API into a reporting layer, into ClickFolio, or bringing it direct into ClickFolio if it's non-complex data, yeah? And so that's then customized self-serve reporting that they can look at, which is not just financial, but it can be operational as well. And it can bring in, customer numbers, it can bring in average value per customer, it can bring in, those types of things, on a daily basis, on a every 30-minute basis, which is pretty powerful to do. But that's one part of it, right? That's kind of self-serve. A lot of it is around telling the story and what's the story. Because a lot of these people that we work with are entrepreneurs. They're obviously very, very smart. They're much more visual people. They like to see charts and graphs. But actually, part of it is, and I think as finance professionals, we really, really take for granted how much knowledge and experience we have, and it's difficult to it's really difficult to unwind that knowledge and think how somebody without the 3 years college, the 10 years experience, or whatever it is that everyone might have, to what it would be like before that. What does that mindset look like when you're looking at a P&L and balance sheet and not actually identifying these trends, these variances straight away? it's completely in our, natively in our or nurtured into our nature, that we can see this stuff that other people just can't. And so I think sometimes we underplay. We look at something and think it's obvious, but actually our clients don't always think it's obvious. And so our role there is really to tell a story and to connect them from what we see in the data to what they need to do and what it means from a business perspective. That's actually, like, despite, like, forget all the technology that we have in accounting. Technology, it does make us more efficient. It does help us have a better control environment. And of course, it helps us, unlock the power of data analytics and those sorts of things. But actually, a lot of it comes down to communication and communicating what that message is and debating what the actions from that are. That's the really, really valuable part at the end of the puzzle that we need to focus on.
And how does that actually work in practice? So, you've got a team of X people. Do you, presumably some of them are fairly, junior than others? Do you train them all? Because there's, it takes a certain level of financial acumen and experience to then, give meaning to those numbers. Do you equip your team with the right skills, the training to be able to have those conversations directly with clients on a monthly basis, or is that all kind of on your plate to do?
Yeah, so I personally only have one client, and it's a very interesting. I just came off a board call with them actually an hour ago. So I personally only have one client. We very much look at Flinder as a business and a corporate structure rather than a partnership. Typical partnership, you have a partner with his clients, and you have your favorite team members that you want to get on your clients, and then you have another partner that has his own clients, and another partner his own clients, or his or her own clients. We don't have that structure at all. We have more of a corporate structure, so kind of like CEO, COO kind of structure, and then down to business partners, pods. But back to your question on how do we actually instill that same, let's call it methodology, mindset, and brand experience. There's an element of coaching, obviously. So we're 23 people now. 2.5 years ago we were two people, just me and Luke, and a lot of that was in our heads. So how do we manage to maintain that same brand experience? That's actually really, really difficult to do. And when you bring people in, you're growing at such pace, and you're just kind of like winning work, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. But it is really important to harness the brand and the kind of the ways of working that you've kind of set your name on, and that you have been known for and are delivering high quality service for. So I think that part is really, really key, and it's an inflection point for a lot of leaders to go, how should I do this? How can I get this right but still grow and put enough effort into documentation and that sort of stuff? So there's an element of just kind of shadowing. There's an element of coaching. There's an element of documenting. There's an element of training in there. And I think everybody, if they wound back a few years, they do it slightly differently. So in our case, we would document. My one tip would be we would document our ways of working a lot sooner. So people, an educated person coming into the business could read our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, and then understand exactly how you run a strategy workshop, or exactly how you run how you write an email, right? Because even little things like that, everybody coming from one firm or another firm has their own ways of doing it, their own kind of language. As a business and as a brand, we want everyone to communicate in a similar, consistent language, so that all our clients are getting the same brand experience. And that even little things like that are really, really important to us. But one of the things we actually had a call about this morning is an internal call. We've got this concept that we call the difference in Flinder, and it's made up of our competencies, our values, and skills matrix, but also this concept of an academy, right? So it's something that we're developing at the moment called the Flinder Academy, and this is almost a syllabus throughout someone's career, professional career, and it's not just the first 3 years of them being at college; it's through their entire, when they get to director level. It's everything that they should have experience on from a training perspective. So to begin with, it could be, how do you do accruals and prepayments in practice? How do you do working papers? It could be an introduction to writing a management commentary, but all the way through to, say, manager, it could be how to manage people, how to manage clients. And then a kind of, a senior manager level or a director level, it could be how to present with impact, how to negotiate when it comes to selling. And so we're looking at developing that end-to-end syllabus, which we call the Flinder Academy, which really trains our professionals in a different way than you would get at another typical SMP, really. And that's why we call it the difference. Different professional experience for someone, so it retains talent. And then it's a different experience for our clients because they're getting a consistent, elevated brand experience from our professionals, the way Luke and I want it to be carried out.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so moving on away from this topic and moving back to kind of probably the crux of this session was all about kind of brand and profile. So talk to me about, when you actually made that choice to focus on, the brand Flinder, how that name came about, and then subsequently the emphasis that you have put upon building that brand and the results that you've got from it, and what advice you have to other accounting firm owners to perhaps look at their firms as more of a brand and the advantages of doing that, because typically a lot of accounting firms are set up with the founder's name and co in the title. We're also guilty of that, and and you've also used your personal brand to get out there and win awards and things like that. So yeah, just talked about brand, and I'll pick up a few questions from what you say after that.
A lot of questions there. If I start with the first one, right? So when we set up, we didn't call ourselves Barlow and Streeter LLP or and Co LLP. We wanted to have a name that was not let's call it sector constrained. Yeah. So Flinder, we very much see Flinder could branch off into do other things in the future, right? So it could be like take Virgin, for example, right? Virgin has moved into different verticals, right? So you've got trains, broadband, records, well, money, everything you can think, holiday, everything you can think of, like 50 or so companies under the Virgin brand. And Virgin is not Branson and Co LLP, or it wasn't Branson Record Stores, 30 odd years ago. It was Virgin, right? So there's an element of having something which is not constrained by the walls of the professional services sector. It's not constrained by accounting. So like very much, I can very much see that, we move into a technology field at some point in the future, right? So we didn't want to be constrained. We don't want to be a stereotypical accounting firm. We have a very different vision for what a progressive accountant should be delivering. And we wanted a name that represented, that kind of was a bit more fresh, that represented the future of accounting and the progression and the direction it was going in. And so we came up with Flinder. First off, one of the options was finance, which obviously goes against what I've just said, but that was canned very, very quickly. In fact, by my girlfriend, who thought it was absolutely shit. So how did we come up with Flinder? Well, Flinder, actually, if you can see my t-shirt, Flinder I used to live in the Netherlands, as I said. I used to work there. My daughter is half Dutch. Flinder is a Dutch word. It means butterfly in Dutch. It was one of her first words. It's got the connotations of moving from a caterpillar into something slow, like businesses before they come to us, to something that floats and is very nimble and is beautiful, which is what we try and work with our clients through this metamorphosis. And we actually have a methodology internally called metamorphosis, which is the way we break down how we work with our clients and how we improve and optimize all their processes. So there's that part. And then also the fact that, I like the concept of the butterfly effect, that one small change, a small flap of a wing can have a huge, profound impact. And that's where we're trying to put in those small changes that have a profound impact. So, so the name, they're the kind of the multiple reasons why Flinder worked for us.
Fantastic. No, that's great story. I've never heard it before. So good to know what it finally means, butterfly in Dutch. Brilliant. So what advice do you have for other accountants who are perhaps thinking about, a brand change? What kind of what benefits do you think having a kind of non-finance, typical traditional accounting name has had for you? Has it brought about opportunities that you think would otherwise not have? Does it kind of help appeal your firm more to the likes of businesses that you're after than others?
So I think you have to be quite thoughtful and careful about a name, right? And what I mean by that is it depends who your target market is, right? If our target market was, we were talking about where I live in Hampshire, even though our offices are in London. If we were a local firm in Hampshire that only wants to work with Hampshire businesses, we would maybe have called ourselves the Hampshire Accounting Company Limited, right? Or something like that. Whereas that's not our target market. It's not our goal. It's not our ambition. So in a way, there's probably an element of, and this comes back to brand, like who are you selling to? What do you want to be known for? And what do you want people to talk about you when you're not in the room, and or understand and know who you are when you're not in the room and your name's not actually necessarily mentioned. But so for us, like Flinder works on a number of levels. We work with fast growth equity-backed businesses that will always have funky names. I think the one thing that annoys me about it is we have Flinder with a lowercase f in the logo, and we always have people with an uppercase f when they write articles and stuff. And it's a battle against them to try and put it to a lowercase f, because journalists just don't like that, right? They like grammar properly. So that's a bit frustrating. But I think when you're, you know, from my perspective, I've had a bit of the luxury in that. While I was at PwC, I had a couple of, I'll call them side hustles or you know, creative outlets where I set up a couple of businesses, a couple of online businesses, and, you know, got exposure to building websites, to e-commerce, to marketing, to branding. So I've spent time with branding professors in the past. So I really, really understood the value of a brand. And at the ACCA Roadshow last year, I stood on stage with Amanda Watts, and I held 2 bottles of water. One was, I can't remember, one was like, I don't know, Tesco's own water for 50 pence, right? And the other one was Smart Water, which cost like £2.50, or Evian or whatever. And there is actually an Evian water bottle that costs 50 quid because of the design of the bottle. Fundamentally, they're both going to hydrate you, right? They're both going to give you this, you know, quench your thirst. I don't think one's going to make you run faster than the other or anything like that. But the difference in price, that £2, which is a significant amount, like 400, 500%, is branding, right? That is the power of branding. It's the fact you can create something, create a point of view, people buy into that, and people will pay a premium for that. People will want to work for you. People will want to stay with you. People will buy into your point of view. Partners will want to work with you. You know, you'll attract more investment. You'll attract more clients. That's the power of a brand, and that's why brand is so important to us on where we're trying to get to on our trajectory, and what our kind of overall mission and strategy and objectives are as a business. And so for us, that's why brand is fundamentally so important. But it's not just a logo. It's you know, it's everything. It's language. It's the way in which the team talk. It's absolutely everything is brand. And so for us, yeah, brand is hugely important. It's about the point of view that we deliver in the marketplace, and brand differentiates you from someone else, and you can command a higher price even against your direct competitor if you differentiate yourselves with your brand.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I talk a lot about pricing, and it's all about focusing on being different and focusing on adding value, which is certainly what you guys are doing. And you know, you talk very well, and I think you've got the point across. So hopefully, everyone listening will have a good look at their brand and see whether it needs a refresh or a creation of a new one, because you can clearly see the benefits that having a clear and distinct brand and the story that you can associate with that, the image that it gives, the perception it gives, not only to potential customers, but to potential partners, people that want to work for you. So, you know, the investment in brand, I think, you know, you've done really well. So moving on topic, and let's kind of close with talking about recruitment. So, you know, you've grown very fast, 23 people in 2 years, which is an amazing achievement. What advice?
Not as fast as I want, but
it never is for us, is it? What advice do you have for others around, you know, how do they go about finding talent? And clearly you've got an advantage there because you've got a distinct brand. So that's one of the ways of putting yourself out there. But I know you've talked in the past about kind of your marketing is geared towards different stakeholders. And one of those is actually prospective recruits. So talk to us a little about, you know, your recruitment strategy. How do you recruit? Where do you recruit? And, you know, what makes people come to you? And do you think there is a dearth of talent in the marketplace, or are you finding it easy to find the right people?
So no one has any illusions or disillusions. It's not easy, right? It's absolutely not easy. And just going back to kind of the branding stuff we talked about, like I have all these ideas and we haven't executed them because it's not easy to do. And we, like everyone else, have this kind of this competition for resources in what we want to do and what we want to run with. So it's not easy at all. I think if we go back 2 years ago, like, you know, we found it really, really tough to recruit, like really tough. We were working with one of the big recruiters to try and get CVs. We'd load job profiles up on Indeed, and we got rubbish, right? And no offense to other people, we got rubbish for what we were looking for. They didn't align to what we were looking for, the skill sets, the experience, right? And part of that was the recruitment partners we were using didn't take the time to understand our culture, our vision as a firm, our values, and therefore they were delivering CVs which were just irrelevant to us, right? And very, very frustrating. I think, you know, we then, I think our fifth employee, and actually this goes back to the makeup of our business. Our very first employee was a data engineer. Our fifth employee was a marketing associate, right? That's the emphasis we place on data consulting, and the emphasis we place on marketing, developing content, and building a brand. Yeah. So we hired Jamie, and then we started to think a little bit more about who our avatars are. So who are we actually positioning ourselves? Who are we trying to talk to in the market, and who are we trying to market to? And so ultimately, if I break those down, we've got, as a business, we have, we sell to entrepreneurs, right? We run finance functions for fast growth businesses. We sell to CFOs, we sell transformation projects, we sell implementation projects, sell that to CFOs. We indirectly realized we have got a target audience of accountants in practice, because we get a lot of them signing up to our newsletters to see what we're doing. So actually what we've done is we've created a specific newsletter for accountants in practice. But actually, and the most relevant to this part of the discussion is, we realized that one of our avatars is our candidates. And that's, I think, something that most people don't realize. Like the PwC of this world, they get it. They go to university fairs, they target them, they've got specific departments for it, but they've got the money and such like to do it, right? I think SMPs probably don't realize, actually, our biggest problem isn't winning new work, right? Our biggest problem is the engine to delivering that work, which is people, right? And my view is, if we have the people, we can deliver more and more work. So it's absolutely is the people. We need to fuel that cycle with people. Like winning work's not a problem, delivering it's the problem. You know, I speak to Luke and I'm like, okay, we've got this opportunity is going to land here. And he's like, well, we need to push it out. And the entrepreneur in me is going, why are we saying no to revenue? Like, obviously, we come from a quality assurance angle and we don't want to bring too many clients on at once. I'm like, seriously, we need to like get more people in and to deliver that. So, you know, people, we focused on it as an avatar, as someone who wanted to market towards. And so we started developing content for that audience. We started developing content like what it was like to work at Flinder. We started by interviewing people. We started developing content and tracking new recruits through a 12-month cycle on their first week, the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And we've got a few more of those coming out soon. We started developing videos around kind of our summer away days. We've got a video which is, we've got a few skiing videos. One of our skiing videos has got about 7,000 views. And all that was to unlock what it was like to work at Flinder. What's it like, you know, as an employee at Flinder through the eyes of employees? And that has been really, really important for us. Like, one, we're a pretty fun, cultured organization as well. But two, to open the doors and to put a lens on what it looks like and what it feels like to work at Flinder from the eyes of employees, I think really gives credibility and validates and takes some of the risk away from someone moving here. So straight away, we get candidates that we interview, they want to work here before we've ever opened our mouth, because they've seen, you know, and I can't remember how many touch points it is that somebody needs before they buy from you, but it's that sort of thing. They'll have watched a number of videos. They'll have seen us on YouTube, seen us on Instagram. They'll have seen one of our talks, that sort of thing, you know, because we've got content coming out of our ears about our point of view in the marketplace, on people, on the difference, on data analytics, on finance functions, on progression of what it is to be an accountant, on what it is to be a CFO. You know, we've got all these points of view in the marketplace, and people are going, I want to work there. Like, they're pushing the boundaries. I can see how fun it is. These guys go skiing, they take the piss, you know, all these types of things. And that has been really, really powerful for us. So we then went from struggling with CVs and then a recruitment partner that sat down, talked to us about our culture, our values, and got us. He helped us recruit, and now for a 12-month period. And now we're at the point where we get God knows how many applications every week straight into our Airtable for us to review and sift. And so that's a huge transformation. And there's varying qualities, obviously, in that Airtable kind of the candidates that come in, but it's attraction rather than trying to grab those people. They're attracted to us, and then we can be choosy and picky about that. So that, I think, that's been a huge transformation for us. It really is the fuel to growing a people business like an accounting firm.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I love that, the fact that you've taken that concept of inbound marketing to attract inquiries from new clients, but then said, actually, our target market is now prospective candidates, and you've taken the same methodology which works to attract new inquiries to actually getting applications from the people that want to work, which is absolutely awesome.
There are a few other things actually to think about here. So a couple of things we're thinking about is setting up a Facebook group for part qualified accountants and delivering some value there. There's something we came up with a little while ago with partnering with someone where we run quarterly drink events. So they supply the people, we just pick up the bar tab and have a load of fun. We have a database that's built up. So there's a few other kind of concepts there that we're exploring as well.
Fantastic. This has been great, Alastair, full of some fantastic content. So just to finish off, what are the future plans for Flinder? Where do you see yourselves in 5 years' time, and what's your kind of outlook for the accountancy profession in that time frame? Just leave us with that before we close.
Yeah, so 5 years' time, I pretty much hope to be on a beach somewhere, to be perfectly honest, not working as many hours as I do. I think that's the other thing to say, so some people might look and go, okay, 3 years in, you've gone from zero, you've got 20 odd people, you've got this brand that's building. It's hard work, right? I work pretty much like to some extent every day. And as a business owner, you tend to do that, right? You never shut off. So I think, we've been going at it quite hard for quite a while now. So I think, certainly we take a lot of holidays. We do go skiing quite a lot and stuff, but we're working as we do it. I think, 5 years time, I want to be detached from the business. I want it to be self-sufficient and running itself. We'll have had significant year-on-year growth to get to where we want to as a business in terms of the revenue number. In 5 years time, probably, if I look at it, we're probably looking at 100 people in the business, something like that off the top of my head. But then Luke and I will be onto another business concept, I would have thought. That's where we want to get. So probably a technology product. And then in terms of the profession in 5 years' time, I'm sad to say, I think it will still be dragging its heels a little bit. I think generally I'm quite surprised about how slow, like you hear and see a lot of good stories about what's going on in the profession. And I think under the bonnet, there's still a lot that's dragging, a lot of heels that are being dragged, to be honest. So yeah, that's probably
fantastic. No,
I want to be corrected on that, but that's what I.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The although we see some great things happening, I think if you look at it as a profession as a whole, I think the progress is much slower than we'd all like it to be.
It's such an opportunity for accountants to really grab and help their clients and really help propel the SME economy forward, delivering that advice, that value. So, shrink your client numbers, grow what you're doing with your client. Preferably grow everything. But if you need to shrink your client numbers, add more value, help the economy go forward, make better decisions. Accountants are in a unique position because of their skill set to really, really add a huge amount of value to businesses.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you, Alastair. Thanks so much, Alastair. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I'm wishing you all the best with your future plans. And I look forward to seeing a selfie with you on the beach in 5 years' time, once you've sold off Flinder and worked on your next tech product. So, thanks everyone for listening. If you are catching this up on the replay, you have any questions, feel free to fire them in the comments, and I'm sure Alastair will be more than happy to reply. So thanks again, Alastair. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, great week, and we'll speak to you soon.